Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with permission, I'll update the House on my recent international engagements and our work to strengthen the security of our continent and our economy. Starting, Mr. Speaker, with the situation in Ukraine, which of course is at the forefront of all of our minds. Over recent days, I've had detailed discussions with allies. I met the partners of the Coalition of the Willing during the G20, and I've spoken a number of times to both President Trump and President Zelensky, who I spoke to again earlier this morning. Mr. Speaker, we're united in wanting a ceasefire and a permanent end to the horrendous suffering that this war has brought to Ukraine. I have always said our aim must be a just and lasting peace. And both of those words, Mr. Speaker, are important, just and lasting. So, Mr. Speaker, I welcome the continued efforts of the United States to end the war and stop the killing. The initial draft of the 28-point plan included points that were not acceptable, but also some very important elements that will be essential for a just and lasting peace. For example, it sets out steps on security guarantees from the US and partners. This is very significant, and the discussions in Geneva took important steps forward, with progress between the US and Ukraine on an updated peace framework. I can reassure the House that work is ongoing to refine this plan. And Mr. Speaker, we're clear about the fundamental principles here, that Ukraine's sovereignty must be maintained, that Ukraine should be able to defend herself in future, and that matters about Ukraine and its future must be determined by Ukraine. We are clear their voice must always be at the heart of the process, and elements relating to Europe and NATO will need the consent of Europe and NATO members. So there's still a long way to go and a tough road ahead, but we're more committed than ever to this cause and to keeping pushing forward on this process. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, later this afternoon, President Macron, Chancellor Merz and I will convene the Coalition of the Willing, which now has 36 members, to discuss how we can advance the peace process and to discuss how we can continue to keep Ukraine in the fight right now. Because, Mr. Speaker, Ukraine continues to hold the line. They continue to mount a fearless defence of their country. And they deserve not just our respect, but our help and our support. After all, it is not just our values that are at risk here, it's our security too. In addition to targeting energy and food prices, Putin continues to seek to undermine our security, including, Mr. Speaker, by sending Russian ships into our waters. The Royal Navy intercepted 2 Russian ships in our waters in the last 2 weeks. So let me assure the House, we are more ready and determined than ever to protect our territory and protect the British people. As we work towards that end, we will never let up on the support that Ukraine needs, the vital defensive capabilities it needs to protect its people, and the economic pressure that we must continue to mount on Russia to cut off the fuel to their war machine. Mr. Speaker, the urgent need to take Russian oil and gas off the global market was something I discussed extensively at the G20. This is vital, especially now, as winter begins to bite in Ukraine and Putin continues his barbaric attacks on civilians and civilian energy infrastructure. Because, Mr. Speaker, as this House knows, and the British people know, there is only one nation that wants this war, only one nation that launched this illegal invasion, and only one nation that deploys a constant barrage aimed at murdering innocent civilians. We saw that again last night, Mr. Speaker, with Russia's strikes on Kyiv. Indeed, in the last week before last night, Russia launched over 1,200 drones and over 60 cruise and ballistic missiles at Ukraine. killing children like 7-year-old Amelia, a Polish citizen, killed alongside her mother by a Russian missile in Ternopil last Wednesday, an attack that took 34 lives in total. And Mr. Speaker, last night, as a family, we celebrated my daughter's 15th birthday. Later, I saw images on the news of a young girl, about the same age, being pulled from the rubble of a building in Ukraine, where her mother had just been killed. It's abhorrent. It's beyond belief. Yet Ukraine lives this same story every night in their cities and every day on the front line, where so many Ukrainians are killed fighting for their freedom. And, Mr. Speaker, we should not forget that Putin's aggression, his illegal actions, and his total disregard for human life has taken a huge toll on his own people. Thousands of Russian soldiers are killed every single day. 100,000 have been killed attacking Donetsk. In total, more than 1 million Russians have been killed or injured, all because of the depraved ambitions of one man. So, Mr. Speaker, we say again, this country will never falter in our support for the Ukrainian people. We will maintain a unity of purpose with our allies, and we will focus on delivering the calm, serious leadership that is needed to advance a just and lasting peace for Ukraine and indeed for the whole of Europe. Mr. Speaker, let me now turn to my broader discussions at the G20. I took the opportunity in South Africa to raise the ongoing and utterly horrifying situation in Sudan. We are working with our partners to break the restrictions on humanitarian aid and demand accountability. We must rally global pressure to stop the slaughter, achieve a sustained ceasefire, and ultimately to deliver a transition to civilian rule. Mr. Speaker, in South Africa, I also chaired the Global Fund replenishment alongside President Ramaphosa, leading the charge in the global fight against AIDS, TB and malaria, work that has already saved over 70 million lives. Yet, Mr. Speaker, malaria still kills a child under the age of 5 nearly every minute. 4,000 adolescent girls and young women still contract HIV every week. And TB remains the world's single deadliest infectious disease, even though we've had a cure for nearly a century. So we will keep driving this project forward because it's the right thing to do and because it helps protect the United Kingdom from future pandemics and health emergencies. Mr. Speaker, a central priority at the G20 was delivering economic security and opportunity, as it is at every international meeting I attend. A strong economy allows us to be strong in the world. Economic security is national security. So, Mr. Speaker, I can tell the House we delivered for the British people this weekend, including deals with South Africa for British firms to upgrade their railways and submarines, a £370 million deal for Rolls-Royce to supply jet engines to Algeria, and a £4 billion deal with Indonesia for new ships, delivering 1,000 jobs in Rosyth, Plymouth and Bristol, and delivering, if I may say, another rebuke to all the people who prematurely wrote off British shipbuilding. Mr. Speaker, we can only achieve these things, we can only deliver for the British people by working with our partners. And I think this is a moment to raise our sights. Mr. Speaker, the House will recall that it was when the global financial crisis struck that the G20 showed its full potential, when my predecessor, Gordon Brown, marshalled a global response to that crisis to protect the savings and finances of the British people. And so, in this moment of growing fragility and crisis around the world, it is time once again to take a more purposeful, unified approach, focused on global growth and stability. I called for a response based on the right balance of investment and fiscal discipline, open markets, reforming the global trading system, and tackling the cost of living crisis. That approach was echoed by the leaders' declaration from Johannesburg. And, Mr. Speaker, I'm also pleased to say that the summit confirmed that the UK will take on the presidency of the G20 in 2027, the first time it's returned to the UK since 2009. It will be a proud moment for our country, part of our work to restore Britain's international leadership, which was neglected for so long. And we will use that presidency to drive the agenda that I've been talking about today, to drive growth and opportunity, to create jobs, cut the cost of living, and fundamentally strengthen the economic security of the British people. That is what we're doing at home and abroad, and I commend this statement to the House.